what I kind of did last couple weeks, the last actually few months, is I'm just looking out of state and to see what they're doing, the trends, to see how Rochester compares. Do we have good inventory? Do we not have good inventory? And what's considered good? So I've been looking at a few other states. Last week I went to Florida, and actually this was the first time I went to Florida to look for property. Okay, that was my whole purpose, is to see what's out there, see what I can get. So I did talk to several brokers and realtors, and I visited a bunch of properties. So before I get into that, you can kind of Google, anyone can Google, but as far as the 10 best states to buy property in, and I know depending where you go, where your sources are, you're going to get some different information, but the 10 best states, Indiana seems to be up there as top 10, Ohio, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Missouri, Idaho, Georgia, and of course, Florida. And I think a lot of those states they're pretty tax friendly compared to New York, and they have some good favorable landlord laws, unlike what we have so far recently in Rochester, New York. So I know as an investor, we have, as far as the property management goes, we have a lot of clients from out of state. They don't mind investing in various states, and they're actually pretty happy with Rochester. But you look at that list, and then I dug into a little bit more to say, hey, what are some other laws? What's going on? I know in Indiana, you just have to give a non-paying tenant a 10-day notice. And if they don't pay within 10 days, you go right to court. In Georgia, there's no limits on late fees. As long as your late fees are reasonable, there's no limits on late fees. What do you want to put in your lease? And there's no limits on your security deposits. So I think that adds some extra protection for those that are invested in Georgia. And you don't really need a 24-hour notice to enter an apartment. They said it's recommended, but you don't need a 24-hour notice to enter, which I thought was pretty interesting. Kentucky, real similar to Georgia. And then in Texas, a landlord can refuse to do repairs if you're behind in rent. Imagine if we did that in Rochester. So I don't think there's no net office or anything in Texas, but I found that interesting as well. In Indiana, a landlord can hold a security deposit for 45 days to determine what the tenant owes. Colorado, you can enter without 24-hour notice, you as a housing provider. And in Florida prohibits rent control, and there's no restrictions on late fees. So you can go ahead and put in there what you want to put in there. So just a little quick search on that I thought was interesting compared to what we're dealing with right now. So that's why us as housing providers, we do have to stay involved. We do have to stay connected with under one roof and keep fighting for what's fair. That's really all we want is fair. Yes. Any questions so far with anything? All right, so just pop up, because the more we have all talk together, it'll be a lot better. So some of the states I looked at myself personally is I looked at Ohio. Cleveland's not too far away, so being from Rochester, if I had to check on some properties in Ohio, obviously that's not far. So I looked at Ohio, specifically Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. I also looked at Alabama. Alabama's pretty high on a lot of people's lists, which I was surprised. But there's various reasons why Alabama ranks up in the top 10 as far as a lot of markets. Low taxes, but Alabama also has low wages. So what they're considering a good investment is you can take the $100,000 single family home in Alabama, and it rents for between $800 to $1,100 a month. And everyone's going nuts over that. So as far as what we're used to here, $100,000 for between $800 and $1,100 a month is not so hot, I don't think. Okay, but as far as Alabama, I think a lot of the pros that they have, again, keeps it in the top 10, and Alabama is actually a pretty hot market. I looked at Columbia, South Carolina, and actually spoke to a broker in Columbia, and he had a blazing deal, a one-of-a-kind deal, C+B neighborhood, side-by-side duplex, only $185,000, and your monthly rent was $1,560. I said, wow, that's fantastic. $1,560 a month for a double, $185 grand. What does the house need? It needs nothing. All houses need something. So I'm like, okay. So I just did some quick figures, and that's about a 6% net return in Columbia, South Carolina. And the market's on fire. It's hot. I actually was trying to look at bigger stuff. I wanted to get anything from a 6 to a 20 unit. And a lot of that stuff is just even worse, between 4 and 7% cap. And there's bidding wars. So that's why I trickle down to the smaller stuff. And he's telling me there's bidding wars on this stuff, 185 grand and 1560 a month. And I think a lot of us, Colleen and so forth, we know we can get duplexes that make 1600 a month for well under $185,000. So I dismiss that. I had a wholesale deal come to me from Dayton, Ohio. And I was talking to the wholesaler, and he had a fourplex for $175,000. Pictures look pretty decent. Total rent's $2,500 a month. This wholesaler said you have to make a decision. We have to close in 7 days. Here's the inspection report. It's clean. Nothing's needed. Let's go. Send me a check. Let's go. So I kind of did the math on this, and again, for $2,500 a month, 175K, you're around a 9 to 10% cap rate, net cap, which really isn't too bad. But he says if you don't make a decision in a couple hours, it's going to be gone. So same thing in Ohio. People are flooding Ohio, and that was probably the highest cap that I found thus far. So I changed my search. I went to, like I said, I was in Florida, and this is where I visited a few opportunities. Another wholesaler. And let me tell you, in Florida, no matter where you go, the wholesalers are all over the place. Social media, they're marketing like crazy. It's on fire. Okay. So one area in Florida was St. Petersburg, Florida. I focused on Indian Rocks, Clearwater Beach, St. Pete, and then Tampa. So drove around all those areas. For those of you that haven't been to Tampa, pretty busy. There's like traffic nonstop in that 275 that goes north and south. It didn't matter what time of day we were there. It was pretty heavy in traffic. So one opportunity was in like a C neighborhood in St. Petersburg. So the wholesaler said that there's 6 one-bedroom homes on one lot. So pretty much one parcel with these little shacks. And he didn't say shacks, but he said 4 of them are rented, 2 are vacant, and they need about $15,000 to $20,000 each. Rent's $550 each. So $550 times 6. Again, 4 are occupied, 2 are not, and they need about $15,000 to $20,000 each. C neighborhood. So okay. So asking price was $220. So drove over there, and it's definitely a C area, maybe a C minus area. I got a lot of stairs, like definitely we had new people in town, and these shacks were kind of like, couldn't be any more than 400 or 500 foot square little boxes, like a little summer little cottage. And I'm surprised they had running water and plumbing and electric. These shacks were barely being held up. They were definitely neglected. And I did talk to one family that was living in one shack, and of course I got in, and so I'm walking through the house, and the floor was very soft, and I don't know if there's a dirt floor underneath. Well, yes, because there's no basements in Florida, but the floor was rocking a little back and forth. There was one kitchen cabinet on the wall, one little sink. The bedroom was probably a 7x9, and then there was a closet. And the living room or the TV room was, again, maybe 8x10. And looking at the electric, I'm looking at the ceiling, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, no wonder why you pay $550 a month to live here. But the lady that I spoke to that lived there was like, well, it is what it is, right? It's $550. We can't complain too much. Again, no net office, no city inspectors, nothing like that. But I'm thinking 15 to 20,000 each. It'd be better to bulldoze it down and start over and put something else up. But all 6 of them needed about $20,000 to $25,000 if you could fix them, because they were so bad. And when you do the math on this, and if you put in the rehab costs and the list price, you're looking at about a 6 to 8% return. Okay, so the fantastic deal that, hey, it's, you know, it's yours first if you want it, and kind of strike it out. So I wasn't really impressed with that. So and then I kind of let go the bigger stuff, the fourplexes, triples, doubles, and I'm like, let's look at the condo market. You know, condos seem pretty big, pretty popular. A lot of people want to go to Florida for various reasons, get a condo. And we know about the pros of condos, right? If you invest in condos, your exterior maintenance is taken care of. And this is an area that I've never been involved with, so I just spent a lot of time here. But your HOA fees include water, sewer, trash, cable, phone. A lot of these places obviously have pools, fitness rooms, activity centers. So there's a lot of good stuff in it, what you're paying in your HOA. And you're not looking at obviously a lot of upkeep compared to what we invested in Rochester. And obviously they can appreciate. And I focus on St. Pete area for this, St. Pete and Clearwater, and again, Indian Rocks. And you can rent these out, but a lot of condo places, a lot of complexes are getting away from the weekly rentals. That's where a lot of people, investors, used to make a lot of money, is renting them out weekly, on a weekly basis. You can really cash flow. But they're making the rents a minimum of 6-month rental, because they don't want the turnover, disrupting the population there, because there's a lot of homeowners that live there year round. So, but looking into the condo market, the first one I looked at was in North Tampa. And this was a little 2-bedroom, first floor condo, and it looked like an apartment complex. And that was listed at 112. I went there, took a look at it. It needed a total gut job. It was like in the 1980s. So it needed about $25,000 worth of work. I got the broker down to 100. So again, I did the math at buying for 100, putting 25 into it, rent it for $1,200 a month. And you look at all the expenses and so forth, and you're still at about 6 to 7% cap rate. So, you know, and the traffic's pretty crazy. The good thing with that Tampa is the demand is really, really high. Rent, again, $1,200 would be the top rent for that area. But I didn't come to Florida for 6 or 7% return, you know, to spend $125,000 on a 2-bedroom condo. So I passed on that. I offered 65 and they just kind of laughed. But so I passed on that. Then I went to St. Pete. And at St. Pete, I found a 900 square foot condo for $400,000. And it's beautiful, overlooks a golf course, overlooks the golf, beautiful views, balcony. The complex has a beautiful pool, hot tub, everything you want is there. And I did some figuring on this. You can rent it monthly for about $2,700 a month. And when I did all my figures and so forth, it's really not a great investment property. You're cash on cash, because if it's $400,000 to buy, you have to put down 20%. So your cash on cash is about 4.5%, which for those of you that do cash on cash, that's not a good amount. And your cap rate is about 5%. Net cap rate is about 5%. I figured a 30-year mortgage at 3.8. It's a little bit higher because it's out of state investment. So you take 3.8 from 5, and that's your net return. All right. So I think the condo is more, or put it this way, if you rent it at $2,700 a month, you would make about $300 a month. And if you were to rent that for $300 a month, to get back your $80,000 would take about 22 years. So again, if you're putting 20% down on 400, making $300 a month, about 22 years to get back your $80,000. So I think that condo is more for people that want to use it for themselves, not necessarily to make money.
Did that include capital improvement budget, maintenance improvements over that 22-year period, or is that just?
Yeah, I mean, this condo was completely updated inside. The outside they take care of. That's part of your HOA fees. So you don't have to worry about the outside, but inside's completely updated, really nice. They have electric in Florida. So I looked at the electric utilities, and obviously you have to have insurance on the inside. Your HOA fees has insurance for the outside. So, and these are rough numbers, because if you have vacancies for a few months, or if your fees go up, if your taxes go up, your HOA fees go up, or if you want to do some improvement inside, that's definitely going to affect your cash flow. But this one in particular was really nice. They did a nice job with it. And just looking at the product for what it is, I'm looking at a mortgage at 3.8%, 20% down, 30-year mortgage, and I'm doing all the math. And again, really not something that you're going to make a lot of money in. Is it safe? Yeah, it's safe. And there's still bidding wars on this.
Pat, was that North or South Tampa? Not Tampa, St. Pete.
This was in St. Pete, 5 minutes from the beach and about 15 minutes from the city. So it's right on the peninsula,
Yeah, but St. Pete is divides north and south. Was the street named North or South?
I don't know. I like St. Pete a lot. I mean,
I love St. Pete. I had places there. I love St. Pete. It's I got nervous about water, frankly, about flooding.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I had a place down there I would have kept. I loved it, but I was afraid it would flood.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, what I found about St. Pete is they have a Madeira Beach, and that Madeira Beach area is the really hot thing there. It's a really good ship to be in. Sunset Beach is huge. And it's pretty big. I mean, we actually spent a few days there driving around, eating and hanging out, and very lovely place. You know,
it's
really
gorgeous.
Yes,
it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I would love to go back.
Yeah,
I'll get tickets.
Okay, let's do it. And then so that one for 400,000 was 800 square feet. So another one that came to us was 1,500 square foot, same complex, but it was for 525. All right, same sort of views, expenses are similar. That was for sale by owner, and it's going over asking. So yeah, I do the math on that, and you're looking at about 5.4% cash on cash, and again about a 5% net return if you put down 20% on the 525 purchase price. I have all the fees, taxes. So nonetheless, we didn't make any purchases in Florida or anywhere else. But the nice thing is that I shouldn't say nice, but a lot of realtors and wholesalers are pretty open to the business. They're very busy. They don't have time to mess around. They don't want tire kickers. It's either let's go or move on. And I find that as far as the out-of-state stuff, you have to go there personally. You have to go meet people. We actually had a Tampa REIA meeting scheduled, and that REIA meeting got canceled. I was like, oh, darn. That would have been the opportune time to meet the locals and see what they're doing. But
Bob did stuff down in Florida. I think Tampa or in that area. And I don't know if he bought anything, but he talked to he may still own stuff down there because he loved the atmosphere, the pro business on it. That I remember saying that it's like there is a feeling some people have that in this area we look for reasons to not do it. Down in Florida, they look for reasons to make it work from the governing side of it.
Yeah, it's always you never want to be on the buy-in when there's so much competition, right? It's great being a seller, and especially the height of the market the way it is. So, and these states that I looked at and talking to people, prices are high. They're high, and people are paying it. So I don't know. What do we do? Do we just sit back and kind of wait, see if things relax for a little while? But rates are low, so you want to take advantage of the rates, but you don't want to overpay just for a low rate.
Right.
So
Pat, sorry to interrupt you. Why don't first of all, we all know about, because we're spoiled here in Rochester, very spoiled. At the same time, we all know the craziness that's involved with being here, but why don't you get yourself more familiar with the area, which you obviously are. But I mean, like you just said, I would not want to buy right now when inventory is low. At least get yourself familiar, get yourself situated with the people there, get yourself known like you are here. And I mean, 5-6% cap rate to me does not interest me whatsoever. I'd be afraid because right now you're buying it at this high market. Yes, there'll be a little bit of a correction. Who knows for how much? At the same time, why don't you be patient, you know, as far as for waiting till there's more inventory on the market.
Patient. What's that?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, try next year. That would be a better
Yeah,
time.
I just, for some of you, I think some of you guys know me. I was a member of your group a while ago, but I just got back from Bradenton and Sarasota area doing exactly the same thing. I was some brokers there and looked for some properties near the Braden, in the Braden area. I also checked out a condo for $220, and they were looking for an all cash deal. And the place needed probably about 40 or 50,000 in upgrades. And, I didn't take the deal, but it was in a really nice area. And I don't know if you've checked out the Bradenton area at all, but it's really an up and coming area. Seems like the price points are lower there than Tampa and St. Pete. I checked out those areas too. But if you get closer to Sarasota, it gets pretty expensive though. Also checked out further south in Punta Gorda and in Venice. Punta Gorda was interesting because it's more of a boating community, and there were some pretty interesting deals there. But I didn't have enough time to really explore it there. From what the brokers I talked to, they said that's one of the hottest areas right now because the price points are really good. But it's a boating community. It's a little further inland, so there's no beach, but they have 54 miles of canals, and most of the houses have a water access. So something to think about.
I agree with Joe though. To look at it and find some areas, but yeah, the prices are high. The prices in Florida have always been crazy.
Yeah,
I remember a few years ago when I was buying, I looked at it and the list price. I forget the exact terminology, but they had a price for it that was over market value, and they knew it was over market value. They called it buyer's premium, that you paid more than the property was worth. And I said, "Are you crazy? Why would I pay more than the property is worth?" And they know it's more, but it's a buyer's premium. And but yeah, Florida it goes hot, and yeah, it shoots up. But whereas Rochester, we tend to be stable in price. It goes up and it goes down in Florida. And Joe raises a good point. As more things come on the market from when the moratoriums end, could well be price deflation.
Absolutely. And even just like you said, Joe, even if you got to wait till next year or the end of the year, so instead of making 5% or 6% now, you may make 8 to 12% a few months from now,
right.
Which will more than make up for waiting. 6%. Oh my God. That I can't even, I can barely even say that.
But what about inflation?
It's not bad though.
And that's what we decided to. We decided to just wait. We're going to see what it looks like next year and revisit it.
Yeah, that's what I did. I waited, and they eventually came down, and I bought what was 300,000. I paid 150 for. Didn't hold it long because I was fix and flip, but yeah, it's a crazy market. Labor's cheap too.
Well, and then the other thing was, the brokers agreed, yeah, go on the outskirts, 45 minutes away from Tampa, go away from Orlando, hit those other spots, which I agree. The up and coming spots are probably the way to go right now. And I know new construction's pretty encouraged in Florida, which I don't want to tackle that. It's not what I do. And one of the realtors was like, well, bring your team down here and you can bang out this renovation. And I'm like, yeah, it sounds great. I'm sure everybody would love to fly down there and stay down there for a week, but how do you bring tools down there, right? I mean, how do you can't, so I have to hire someone local to do it. I'd rather get turnkey. I don't know about everybody else, but if I'm going to go out of state, I'd rather get turnkey. Or if I have the time, I have to stay there and GC it because, being from out of town, you have to have someone there watching things. And so that's a whole process in itself as well, not
So-
just the purchase price.
Not to mention that in Florida, they have some very specific requirements about being licensed to even pick up a hammer. So if you do not have all of the training and all of your boxes checked, and we're not just talking about like an OSHA 10 hour, we're talking about like months of training and work and testing out for the project manager, for every person on your crew. You're talking about thousands of dollars in licensing. And if you're doing work on a property and they show up, you're into like 10 grand in fines. Like it is a serious deal to get licensed to do any type of construction work in Florida.
So you got to hire that out then. And just like here, the good ones are busy, and the ones that are really available, you got to, make sure you're on that. So, but I mean, my thing is, it's not. I would have purchased something if it made sense. And I know some people are like, well, the depreciation write-offs will offset certain things and certain costs, which yeah, maybe. But like Joe was saying, I think we all agree that 5-6% return, wasn't enough for me to leave home per se. So I think you're right. I think I'm going to kind of wait it out unless I get some sort of super deal that comes my way. But wait it out because when you look at home here, and besides our landlord tenant laws, where else can you get a house for $75,000 done up perfect and make $1,200 a month? You can probably even get into it cheaper and still make $1,200 a month. And that actually, our 3 bedrooms are going up to $1,300 a month in certain instances. We got one listed at $1,450 a month on Rosewood Terrace because the rehab is really beautiful and it's a bigger house, and so our rents have been going up, and we can still be well under $100,000. I just don't find it anywhere else. So, and you look at the numbers with Rochester. And one statistic I got was that our inventory is 40% lower. Okay, so our home prices still went up 10%, which I think they're up more than 10% in certain instances. But Rochester is the 4th largest economy in New York State. And we're seeing people from Boston and New York City area coming here for affordable housing if they can find it. What's $200,000-$300,000 to someone from Boston or New York City? $200,000 to $300,000 is nothing. And you get a really nice house in the Rochester area for that price. So our rents are increasing. It looks like our rents have went up around 8.4% over the last 3 years. And I think they're going to keep rising. I think assessments are going to go up. Rents are going to keep going up. But right here is where we're still finding deals. Yes, this time it's getting a little tougher. But so if anyone else has any experience to share out of state, I would think maybe Ohio, only because that's close if you want to drive and check your asset or fly out there. So maybe entertain a possibility in Ohio. I just know in the Cleveland area, their property taxes are similar to ours. All right, rents are similar. I still think we have it better. So I think, it boils down to I probably would choose Ohio compared to Texas or an Alabama or an Idaho. I know in the Midwest, upper North Midwest there, very favorable. People are very happy, but it's really hard for us to get to. If you wanted to get there and a couple times a year, it's expensive. And so you got to weigh all that out as well. So with that said, do we have any other comments, questions, any stories anyone has to share about other markets? Nothing. Okay, so we'll go ahead, Andy.
I was just going to say, to just reinforce the point, is you definitely need to get involved and talk to the people that work in those markets, because just like in Rochester, there are deals to be found, but if you're not familiar with the market and the regulations and everything, you can get yourself in a lot of hot water. Like if you go down, for example, to Florida and you're opening a business and you try to work on a property and you end up with 10 grand in fines, I'm pretty sure you just lost all your profit for the first couple of years. Right. So there's a certain amount of research that has to be done, not just on the property itself, but on the BS. So these are all things you need to keep in mind when you're looking at other areas, is find out what's actually going on. And a lot of this is stuff that, quite frankly, for me, I picked it up on Clubhouse because I'm meeting people from outside the state and outside my market and outside my network left and right, and talking to people on the phone and doing side deals and all sorts of other stuff. And, network. Right. That's the answer, is you're gonna pick up a lot by just talking to people and asking questions. And sometimes it's questions you wouldn't think about, because New York is super low barrier to entry on a lot of things. Real estate, you can get fired from Xerox and put a sticker on the side of your car and be a contractor tomorrow. You don't need a license unless you're going to be a plumber or electrician. You can do whatever you want to do. It doesn't mean you're good at it. Doesn't mean you have the right insurance, but you can do it. In Florida, they'll freaking throw you in jail. So, barriers to entry.
All right. The other thing in Florida that I saw is every sign on your expressway, every billboard is about attorneys, slip and fall, car accident, DWI. It's everywhere. So it made me think a little twice about that. The grants have opened up for your tenants that are not paying. Has anyone accessed the grants yet? Okay, so they're going to be going on through the end of the year and possibly into next year a little bit. So it's not a big rush right now, but definitely explore that for your tenants that are behind. I know one, I forget what agency it is, but it's like a 14-page application. So the landlord can initiate it. You do need some tenant cooperation, but it's like 14 pages. And, so I know they're not taking into account stimulus checks. They're not taking into account the extra bump in the unemployment. So that's a good thing for us. But go ahead and get started. And they definitely recommend the call off hours since they're open 24/7. Don't call between 9 and 5. So.
Pat?
Yeah.
Do they still call a 211 number or?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep. The city had some information that wasn't entirely correct, which is okay. I mean, it's a newer program that just started. I wish Beth was here. She's the one that's really on this and runs it for me. But she says it's going okay. It's brand new, but you still have to jump through a few hoops, and you do need some tenant cooperation.
We did put out in the newsletter earlier in the week the link to the Diocese of Rochester, the Providence Housing rent relief that landlords can apply for directly. So if you did not see that newsletter, take a look for it. We'll have some information, I think, on the social media sites too. I don't know when that's going up. It'll probably go up tonight or tomorrow. But that is another option, another avenue other than some of the other groups that are out there processing these applications.
Absolutely. Does anyone have any general questions? I kind of left today open. I know it's going to be a beautiful day, but any general questions? What's going on? Any struggles?
Hello, yes. How you doing?
Hi, Stuart.
How you doing? So I
Good.
have a stepson lives down in Lyons, and I took back a mortgage for him, and he hasn't paid his taxes. Getting something from the county clerk said he has back taxes are going to start foreclosure. And I also got a New York State ownership declaration of COVID-19 related hardship. They send that into the state. I don't own it. I have a mortgage on it, but he hasn't paid. Can I send that in to the county clerk's office to have them stop foreclosure on the unit?
Not through a tax lien, it won't. The only foreclosure that's being held up is bank related if the mortgage is held by Fannie or Freddie. So if it's not a Fannie or Freddie and it's not bank related, if it's county, you got to pay the taxes or they're going to take it.
Okay, well, unfortunately, last July they had a fire in it too, so he can't live in it, so. And he had no fire insurance. So it's screwed. Oh, well. Don't help family members out. I try to be nice, help with somebody out, get house, move out of a trailer into a house, and it just doesn't work sometimes. So the old thing, don't rent to family or friends. It's okay, except unless they're your own kids, they live rent free anyway. So okay, well, okay, thanks. I just want to know if I could use this for unpaid tax, but I guess not. Okay.
Stuart, that's a good point, because I know a lot of us have our own little businesses, whether you have 1 or 2 rentals or 20, it is a business. And
Yes.
if friends or family want to come in, I know I have 2 brothers, we're close in age, and my one brother here is HVAC, electrical, has his license, the whole bit. So, he wanted to partner up on some things. And I said, well, we get along great. Let's keep that. But you have your stuff, I have my stuff, and I'd be happy to help you with any admin you got going on. And of course, if I need your hands for something more complicated that my guys can't solve, I'd like to, have you come help me out for electrical, HVAC. And that's the way we kept it, and it works great. So
Okay.
I just hear horror stories,
Yeah, well, there's another one to add to it, Anyway, so
Yeah.
but I've been selling a couple of properties, so 2 houses this year, at least performing one. So with all these changes and stuff, and I'm getting older, I don't really feel like doing much anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well, back in the old days, Stuart, I used to deal with some interesting characters in my career between 84 Lumber and Home Depot. And there was a guy who would let entire apartment complexes go to tax lien, and he would hire a third-party firm to buy the tax liens back at pennies on the dollar, and he would pay his taxes that way. And he would save himself tens of thousands of dollars in taxes every year by just waiting for the properties to go to foreclosure and having a third party purchase them and sell them back to him for a fee.
Well, that was a good idea to use back then. It worked out, but don't think you can do that now, can you?
You might be able to, but I wouldn't take the risk. You lose your properties.
Okay.
At least in this kind of market where people are hungry for stuff and they're making stupid decisions, that would not be a good bet in my book.
Okay, I know. Yeah. Okay, thanks, guys.
Just one thing here. That's Section 8 tenants. Well, there's a shortage right now where we're getting a ton of applications, and that means DSS, cash, Section 8 all over. I would recommend that you wait until you get verification, either before or after you pass your Section 8 inspection, to see what the tenant rent's going to be. Okay, because all that is just estimated. If they're going from one place that's $800 a month and yours is $1,100 a month, until you get solid confirmation from Section 8, from their worker, about what their portion is going to be, and then you can make sure that they can afford that portion, I would not let them move in. Okay. I've been doing a lot of Section 8 inspections forever, so I know if my house is going to pass or not. But just be real careful. We've gotten burned before in the past. Of course, everybody's on their best behavior when they're trying to get in your house. They want to move in early. They have to leave. They're in a big rush. But if that Section 8 portion that they owe is much larger than they anticipated, you just inherited someone that moved in your place. Okay, and then you're going to get stuck with someone that could take months to get out. So be real careful on that. I would leave it vacant until you're sure that you have the solid numbers. All right. Anything else as far as the market? Joe, I know you're still here, correct? La Barbera?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I know we've spoken to Colleen, and she is still busy as usual, working 8 days a week. What are you seeing on your end too? Are you getting more people who are frustrated, willing to sell at a discount, or not really?
I'm getting people who are frustrated, just like everybody else is, but I'm also seeing people with very unrealistic numbers who are just trying to take advantage of the market, which we all want to. You know, I had a guy call up and he wanted he had a 4-family on Fulton. He wanted $240,000. I told him to go back. Did he say a 4-family or a 40 unit? That's what I wanted to tell. I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, you know, but again, you know, I'm saying no more than I'm saying yes to people because they're.
You hit your mute.
I don't want to, you know, I'm just not going to overpay because I'm hoping somebody else is going to overpay down the road. So yeah, I'm busy.
All right. So people are coming to you, but they want high prices.
Oh yeah. Then I ask them for a drug test and then they leave. So, you know. Oh man.
Colleen, are you finding that on any of your sellers that want a ridiculous price to start with more than years ago?
Yeah. So, you know, I know I've mentioned, I'm sorry, I got someone in my contact today. I know I've mentioned it before that, you know, when I work with buyers and they can afford 150, I'm telling them to look at houses that are 125 because we know there's going to be a bidding war and it's going to go up to 150. And if you start at 150, you're out of the ballpark. You're out of the ball game already because it's going to go over 150. So when I sit down with the seller, you know, I explain to them, you're going to list your house for 115. It's probably going to sell for 140. That's the way the market is right now. But, you know, the 115 reflects the need for repairs that need to be done on the house. And if somebody walks in, if you list it at 140, somebody walks in, they're expecting to see a house that doesn't need as many repairs as a 115 house. So it's all a philosophy mind game thing here. But I have had sellers get $20,000 over asking price and then say, I thought we could have gotten 30. I'm like, what? I got 20,000 over asking price. I'd say you did pretty damn good. Nope. Some of them are not happy. So yeah, absolutely. I see some unrealistic values. I talk to sellers every day who want to list it way over what it should be listed for. And as a matter of fact, I just looked up one. I told somebody to list a house at like 55. They listed with another realtor 3-4 weeks later. It never sold. It's expired now. And if you expire in this market, there's only one reason why: you're overpriced.
Are you finding any sellers or buyers also asking you to take a drop in your commission?
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's age-old question. And if you want to drop in my service, I don't mind dropping my commission. You know.
Okay.
So one thing I will tell you, for the lower end properties, and you know I do a lot of those, I used to charge a flat fee, you know, like $1,500 no matter what we sold your house for, $1,500, because I would split it $750 for one agent, $750 for the other. You know, if you're selling a house for $15,000, you're getting like, you know, enough to eat lunch. So at 6%. But because of the way it's a seller's market and listings are gold and they're selling in like 5 minutes if they're priced correctly, then I have not stuck to the flat fee for my lower end properties. It's 6% across the board.
Okay. I just know some sellers, if they're getting over asking, then they're coming to you to you know, hey, go down to 5%, you know? So.
Yeah, well, they think it's easy, but all right. It's easy to the point where I had 20 offers on a house. Did they go through 20 offers and figure out what the best deal was for them? No, they went through the top 3 with me and determined what the best deal was. I send them that spreadsheet, but you know, your house may sell in 4 days, but I paid for a photographer. I'm doing the advertising. I'm putting all the information in the listing. I'm making sure that all your buyers are pre-qualified. And then I'm reviewing all of your offers with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that you walk away with the best possible scenario. So it's not as easy as everybody thinks. That's all.
Right. And you still got to factor in, what about those initial listing appointments with, you know, with sellers or buyers, and maybe you don't get the listing, or maybe you don't get the buy side, right? And then finally you get a good $200,000 list price and it sells in 3 minutes, but people don't understand that, you know?
No. No, there's a lot, and you know, I have talked to a lot of for sale by owners as well, who says, you know, I don't need a realtor, I can put it online. Yeah, you can. Are you gonna get the pre-qualification letters from the buyer's agents before they walk in your door? Are you gonna get multiple offers that drive up your price? Or are you just gonna take the first one that comes in because you don't know any better? You know, it's that kind of thing.
Right. All right. Very interesting. You do all the work and hey, take a cut, take a break. So I've been hearing that more and more from others. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah, I had one of our owners, the just recently, the furnace and water tank both are bad. There's CO in the house, chimney's all bad. So so I quoted him a price and he goes, well, I was paying 2,500 for that a couple years ago for a water tank and new furnace install. And I'm like, well, I don't know where you've been, but I don't think you can see both of them installed for 2,500 anymore.
Yeah, it used to be $500 for a water heater. That's not the case anymore. You know, it's just, yeah.
Yep. I know our water tanks went up $75 per tank and I order in bulk. So, and plus the guys.
God forbid you need to build a porch or do something with a roof. Your wood is outrageous. Mhm.
Well, speaking about a roof, OSB 7/16 4x8 sheets of OSB. We're at $65 a sheet at Depot. Pre-COVID, they were $12 a sheet about. So before I went to Florida about a week and a half ago, I got 130 sheets at $40 a sheet. And then it went up to $65 a sheet. And I had all this delivery outside in the driveway. And because of the price drop, I immediately paid somebody a couple $100 to move all the sheets in the garage. I put a lock in the garage. So because they'll take it. But what we're doing now is we just ordered a bunch of wood from the Amish in Prattsburgh, tongue and groove. And it is 2/3 cheaper than the current OSB. It takes a few more hours to put up, but if you have a whole roof tear off, cedar shake tear off, we're going to put up this tongue and groove that's thicker than 7/16. It takes a few more hours to do because it's not a 4x8 sheet. It's the width is less, but it's at a fraction of the cost of OSB. And right now we're getting it at a deal. So we're taking a couple of trucks up there, going to load up and get that. I don't know if there's any end in sight with this lumber. I don't know. I don't know if prices are going to come down soon or not. Andy, any word on that, Andy?
There is no end in sight currently. It's actually to the point where new home starts and new apartment starts and remodels are down 20% month over month. January was okay. February's down 20%. March was down 20%, and still off 77% from 2020, same time. The pricing is just pushing people right out of the market because you're talking about, when you close on that house and you paid an extra $70,000 for material, your taxes don't go down because the material was more expensive. You're stuck with an inflated price. And when your new home versus existing home is already in New York, an average of $30,000 to $40,000 more for the same square footage and curb appeal, and then you combine that now with an extra 30 or 40 grand in materials, you're talking about some houses could be 100 grand or more expensive than they were. In New York, you're talking about, that's a $5,000 extra tax bill minimum. So who's going to do that in their right mind? I mean, I guess if you're made of money, great, good for you. But this is going to have some far-reaching consequences that nobody is really sure how that's going to go. When you're paying $100 a sheet for a sheet of Advantech, there's a problem.
Do you think that OSB is going to go past $65 a sheet?
I honestly don't know. I'm looking at the futures, and for the first time that I can remember, the futures markets were wrong. They were actually supposed to see a softwood drop starting this month they were saying about $100 to $150 per thousand board feet, and it's continued to climb. So it's anybody's guess. I watch Random Lengths every week. If you go to the NAHB's website, they actually have a chart showing you all your softwood lumber prices, just market price, and they have a futures market that they track as well. And it doesn't include freight to your location. It doesn't include the tariffs and BS coming across the border from Canada. But a lot of, they're trying to get rid of the tariff completely. Again, even though, 6 months ago or a year ago, it was, oh my God, the Canadians are dumping lumber into the US and subsidizing their mills by 20% and all this other crap. Now they're singing a different tune, and it's I don't know. I don't see it getting better. We're getting into peak season now. Home starts usually spike this time of year, remodels and stuff. People are still stuck at home in a lot of states. They're trying to fix up their stuff, and people want to build decks, they want to build porches, they want to do all this stuff, but they don't want to pay triple for it. So who knows? But supply is not, there's no relief on supply for a bunch of reasons. And it's not because of imports. I've seen idiots on Clubhouse and on Bigger Pockets talking about imports from China affecting lumber prices. Like, no, zero lumber is imported from China. Nothing other than exotics. Like we export softwoods to China and New Zealand and Australia and Japan and everywhere else in the world. And like it's got nothing to do with it. It's all domestic production issues from COVID shutdowns and the fact that they can't get labor to go and do the work because they're making more money on unemployment. That's reality. So.
Wow. Sheetrock too, right? That's getting more difficult to buy.
Sheetrock somewhat, again, because of factory labor being an issue, but the drywall compound and mud, spray foams, extruded foam, polyiso, all that product is very restricted supply because of the freeze. All the factories in Texas and Arizona, basically they had these huge chemical pipes that froze and burst, and it shut down and did millions of damage to all of these factories. They can't reopen. So like drywall compound, I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, you know, if you need it, get it now because there isn't any. You're 4 to 6 weeks out pretty much across the board, which now we're getting closer to that 4-week mark if they don't say anything about it. But like all your spray foam product from Dow and Great Stuff, all your foam boards from Owens Corning and Dow, all that stuff is not being produced because the chemicals they need are all coming out of those factories down south that froze. So like this is the perfect storm of stupid, where just-in-time inventory and not having big warehouses full of product is crushing the construction industry. Like cash flow is great. Just-in-time inventory was a big thing until there was a real disruption. And now that there is, you can't just undo 20 years of process change overnight to fix these issues. That the product isn't in stock anywhere. You just can't get it. It's not that they're sitting on it. They changed everything to free up cash flow. I mean, even your Home Depot stores went from, when I started there in 2007, the average store had $1 million in inventory. When I left, it was less than $400,000 sitting on the ground because of just-in-time inventory. So when you look at that and you spread that across the entire industry, from production to distribution to whatever, everything was great as long as it was working. But as soon as something happened on supply side, the entire process just breaks down and there's nothing left. You can't do anything about it. It's just not available.
Yeah, unbelievable. But I could see the new homes though. You're crazy to build a new home. Like you said, those that increased assessment, those increased taxes are never going to go away. So, all right. Anything else here? Concerns, problems, questions? Anything at all? I do want to say there are a few new inspectors, Section 8 in the city. You might have to educate them a little bit, like I just did recently. But I find them to be open, and I haven't had any real problems with the new people. I think they're in it for the right reason. And if you just have a good conversation with the new people and kind of tell them what you're about and what you stand for and what you provide, I find that there's no pushback given. Okay, I've had some good results with the new people. Sometimes I get nervous with new people because they're pen happy. They want to write down everything. But just spend some time with them and show them what you got. And it's been working out okay, at least from my experience. So. All right. Well, I don't want to keep everybody. I know, again, we're busy. Beautiful day today. if there's nothing else, thank you very much for joining us for this hour. I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you guys later tonight. All right. All right. Anything else, Andy?
I don't believe so, no. That's pretty much it, other than check your mailbox. Make sure you've waitlisted us for the newsletter. We're also starting to do, we're trying to figure out the text messaging system for reminders. We do have a new one up and running. It's just working out some kinks. And then if you're following us on Facebook or Meetup, you'll get automated reminders there as well for the meetings if you register. So that's about it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you soon.
Hey, take care, everybody.
See
See you.
you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.